Hello, everybody, and welcome to the studio. It is so good to see you on our very first weekly video update of the 2022-23 school year. This is actually take two because I clicked around and thought that I would check and see if we were actually live, and then I closed the wrong window. What are you going to do, right? So we'll just start right over. I wasn't very far into it anyway. All I was doing was the welcome part. So Miss Liz is teaching our homeschool class right now. Miss Nancy's doing some administrative stuff. Those are the two people that will be in Liberty every single Monday. I usually try to get my weekly video done before they start class, but I had an orthodontist appointment with my daughter this morning, so I am a little bit behind my schedule. I know Miss Sarah is out at Flatwoods today getting everything ready for Monday night classes, and she and her team will be out there tonight. They don't have Monday homeschool, they do Tuesday homeschool. So if you are new to the studio or you're new to our YouTube channel, let me explain what is about to happen here. Every Monday, I go live here on YouTube talking about what is going on behind the classroom doors, because our classrooms are closed to parents and, audience members, and it's not a performance art. So you send your kids to art classes and then you wonder what they did. So this is the video that we talk about that kind of stuff, because it's the first one of the year. We're going to talk about what we're going to do. After this, then we talk about what we did so that you actually get some examples. So moving forward in next week's, probably not next week, but the weeks after, I'll actually hold up kids' art and show you what we're teaching and what the process is, and where we're going from here, and what the next step is, and what we're learning, and all sorts of good stuff. So I have a fun slideshow behind me. I started doing that this summer, and I think it's more interesting than having my office behind me or just me talking. So there's some fun stuff. So we'll talk just a little bit about each of the classes, multimedia and drawing tonight. We're not going to talk about fundamentals, and I'll explain why in just a second. And then we'll go through some housekeeping things, and then I'll let you go. This will be a short version of the video because we only have Monday classes this week, you guys. That's all we have. Our classes, our multimedia and our drawing classes, our big kid classes, they meet 4 times a month. And the way September works, there was only 4 Mondays, and one of them is Labor Day, and nobody wants to come to class on Labor Day. So we start our classes today. So Monday classes meet today. Nobody else meets for the rest of the week. And then we take Labor Day off, and everybody else starts Tuesday. The following Tuesday, not tomorrow Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. And that way everybody gets 4 classes in and nobody has to come on Labor Day. That's how that works. It's actually really nice for us here in the studio because it gives us what we call a soft open. We only have to worry about 1 day's worth of classes to just put it out there and be ready for 1 day. And then we got 4 days to finish up little things that still need to be done. I've got a to-do list on my marker board to get ready for the school year. And we'll be ready to rock and roll 100% on Tuesday with all the little things done. But today I want to talk to my Monday people. And then if you watch next week's video, which will probably actually be on Labor Day, I will probably still come in. But if you watch next week's video, we'll talk about what's going to happen all of next week and all of those classes and things like that. So every week you can tune in here, either live on YouTube. I try to get it done, like I said, before noon. I try to do it in the mornings. Just my day goes better if I do. So I try to get it done before noon. If you subscribe to our channel and you have push notifications on your phone, you will get a buzz as soon as I go live, so you can watch it live. If you don't want to watch it live, that's okay. You can always find it in our private Facebook group. So when I'm done here, I will post it to the private Facebook group. I will also email it to all of our enrolled families. So if you are currently enrolled in classes, you will get this video in an email as well. And the cool thing about that, watching the replay, you get the timestamps. And so you don't have to watch the whole thing. You can just watch the part that's about your kids' classes, or you can watch everything. Everyone sound good? So let's talk through these classes. First one up is the multimedia classes. Now, multimedia is a fancy word for saying we're going to switch what we're doing every single month. So we're going to start with chalk pastels, but then we're going to do clay in October, and then we're going to do ink in November, and we're going to do watercolors in December, do acrylics in January, we're going to do printmaking in February, mixed media in March, fiber arts in April, and metals in May. And that will be our school year. And May is going to be here before we know it. But we start with chalk pastels, and the kids are going to work for 4 weeks on one chalk pastel project. So I want to talk through what those projects are. Now, I didn't bring examples because actually Miss Liz is using them right now. So I did bring digital examples, and I'll show you what those are. But our pastel projects, well, all of our multimedia lessons usually work where week 1 is a lot of talking. It's a lot of brainstorming. We're talking about what the subject is going to be. It's really important to us, especially in those multimedia classes, that our kids, like, they have to come up with their own concepts. We might narrow it down for them. We might say we're working on portraits, we're working on sea creatures, we're working on landscapes, but we're not going to sit at the front of the room and be like, hey, everybody, take your orange chalk pastel and make a mark that looks like mine, because that's not an exercise in art. That's an exercise in following directions. So, so we're going to work from concept, an idea in their brain, through to execution. And so that's kind of how multimedia classes go. So first week's always a lot of talking. It's a lot of brainstorming. It's a lot of sketching in their journals. We're also going to do a lot of instruction on the actual media itself. So today, most of our classes are going to dig into those chalk pastels. They're going to do some technique worksheets and just learning how to use those. My younger classes, my K1s and my second thirds, and that includes my K through 3 class, they are doing portraits. My 4th and 5th and my homeschool classes are doing landscapes, and my older kids, middle school, high school, that includes the 6th, 7th class and the 8th through 12th class in Liberty, are doing sea creatures. The last 2 are going to have reference photos that they can look at in order to kind of pull from, as opposed to trying to imagine what a seahorse looks in their brain, or a, what's the one everybody wants? Axolotl, whatever. What does a jellyfish look like? We actually have pictures printed where they can look at that as a reference in their artwork. Same with the landscapes. All right, so here's how we're going to start with our K1s, right? So they are making these pastel projects. Now they have a little bit different step than my older kids. And you can kind of tell in this example, this is not a new project to us. We've done crazy, colorful self-portraits before. But the outline that you see in the example behind me is actually glue. And it's the coolest process. So you take regular white school glue, which dries clear, on black construction paper, and you actually make your lines with the glue first. When that dries, then you add your pastels over the top. And the reason we do that for our younger kids is because it gives us a border. Chalk pastels are a lot like watercolors. They don't like to stay where you put them. So we end up, just because of the motor skills that this younger group has, we end up with kind of things outside of boundaries. And the glue helps keep everything where it's supposed to be. So they will actually, they're going to learn what a portrait is. We've got some famous portraits they're going to look at, portraits by Picasso, portraits by Da Vinci, portraits by one of my favorites by Matisse, and just kind of to see the whole gamut of what a portrait is and what it can be. It's not always super realistic. Some of it's fun and some of it's colorful, and they'll get to decide how they want to make their portraits. We'll practice drawing portraits in our journal today. We will practice the parts of a portrait and how things are laid out. Where does the eyes go on a face? Where does the mouth go? Do you know that the corners of your mouth line up with your ears? Do you know that, the top of your ears lines up with your eyes? That kind of stuff. So we're gonna talk about positioning. We're gonna talk about scale. That's a big one with this age group. How big actually are your eyeballs? That kind of thing. And then they'll draw that out on black construction paper using, and we have little glue bottles, not the big ones. Those are harder to draw with. So little glue bottles. And then that will dry. And then next week is when they'll start applying all of the messy color to it. That's something to note. All of my multimedia people, chalk pastels are really messy. Like, it's a drawing medium, but it's like the most messy drawing medium you could ever use. It's so messy. Don't wear nice clothes to the studio. All right, my little bit older kids, so my 4th and 5th graders and my homeschoolers, they're going to be doing chalk pastel work, but they're going to work their subject, what their art is about. Their subject is a landscape. And we're going to focus a lot on the sky of our landscape, because chalk pastels are really great for that gradient for changing of colors and layering of colors, rather than the actual land down below it. A lot of the photo references that we have that are land are either very simple or they're silhouetted. So they'll focus on colors and coverage. Big thing on this one will be coverage. So they'll get to pick their landscape. Like I said, we've got photo references already printed for them, and they'll get to sort through all those and pick them. And it's not necessarily like draw this photograph, but rather use it as an inspiration or a reference or jumping off point for your artwork. And then my older kids, I should go back. So today in classes, my 4th and 5th graders who are coming today in week 1, you guys are going to be brainstorming and learning what a landscape is, talking about what you want your composition to look like, maybe choosing your photograph that you're going to kind of draw from, and then they will dig into that technique worksheet and really play with those pastels. My oldest kids, my middle school, high schoolers, they get to do sea creatures. And this is a challenging project because they don't get glue lines. So when they make their, I got to click my pictures. I'm forgetting because I'm talking. Hang on. Okay, so there's a landscape. Yeah, we talked about that. Here's a sea creature. Now, this is one of mine. I teach a monthly chalk pastel drawing class in the Creation Nation. So this is actually, I'm pointing the wrong way. This is one of mine. And it is really tricky to get your chalk pastels to stay where they're supposed to be. They have a tendency to have really blurred edges, which is really great sometimes, but other times not so much, especially like around the edge of the turtle when you want it crisp and clear. So that'll be a challenge for this age group. And I think it's something that they're up for. It's also really hard to get details in your chalk pastels because it's kind of a chunky drawing material, right? So a lot of motor skills need to happen in order to get this to be a super clean work. We do work on toned paper, black paper, when we're working on chalk pastels. So coverage is really important too. We build up layers and layers and layers of chalk pastels, similar to how you make layers of paints. So chalk pastels actually are a lot like paints. I use those words interchangeably. I don't usually call them drawings. I usually call them paintings because they feel more like paintings. So they'll do very similar to our landscape artists today. Our older kids, they will talk about what their subject matter could be. They will look through a bunch of photographs. We've got a bunch printed if they want to search up their own, because we don't have a picture of whatever random deep sea creature they would like to make. We'll find one and print it for them so that they have that as a reference, or they can find it and email it to us and we can print it. So we'll get that figured out, and then they will also dig into the techniques. So that way next week they can go right into sketching and starting on their artwork. Weeks 2 and 3 tend to be the most head down, nose to the grindstone type classes that we have every single month. That's where we really try to get a lot accomplished. And so the kids will work, they will then take a break and critique, then they will work again and then critique and so on. So that's the general layout. And then week 4 tends to be a ton of finishing, which we have some exciting things about week 4 this coming year. We made a couple changes and I'm excited. If you've been in classes for a while, I think you'll like them. So, okay. So let's talk drawing classes. So my drawing classes, we also changed a little bit in our drawing classes. We're trying to be very intentional in our curriculum this year. This is our 8th year in business. And so we want to be very intentional in what we're teaching and how we're teaching it. And then even more so how we're communicating it to you guys as my parents and as my families. And so all of our drawing kids get a journal. They get a bigger journal than in the multimedia class, because in the multimedia class, your journal is like what you do to brainstorm or what you do to kill time if you're all done with your project, or what, where you jot down notes, right? But where you practice techniques. But in drawing class, your journal, this 9x12 journal this is everything. Everything goes in here. And this is where we do all of our documentation of our learning. Now, every drawing class, we do drawing 101 and then two different drawing 102s. We do drawing 102, advanced realistic, and then we do drawing 102, comic and cartoon. And I've done videos where I talk about the difference of them. And I am by no means tired of talking about it. So I'm happy to talk if people are like, what is the difference, Allison? by all means, reach out to me. I'm not going to talk about it here though, because I know some of you have already heard it. So we're just going to talk about what they're doing in the classes. And then if you would like to know more about exactly how do you decide the levels or where you go, reach out to me. Okay. The whole theme for the month of September is benchmarks, because our goal is to make our kids better drawers. And one of the best ways to do that is to have a benchmark lesson. So we're going to fill the month of September with benchmarks. We're going to repeat this benchmark lesson in April. So that way we can see like how we've improved. And so, yeah, our first benchmark uses these really cool drawing things. Aren't those fun? So these are 3-dimensional geometric solids. They come in cylinders and rectangular prisms and cubes and different things. They're white, the hardest one to draw, right? The sphere. So our kids are going to start with a drawing lesson on just very simple geometric solids. Now, what we're looking for I'm just going to talk about 101 and 102 realistic first. They're going to obviously get the same prompt, everybody is, but we're looking for different things. And my 101s, we're looking for scale, how big something is relative to the other stuff. We're looking for, do you actually draw what you see? So if you can't see the top, do you draw the top? If I tip it and now you can't see it, if I tip it this way, you can see it, right? If I have my cube, you can see, let's see, here my camera, I can only see one side, but if I turn it, now you can see 2. And if I put it down, now you can see 3. Can you get these angles right? That's not an easy thing to do. In my 101s, that is challenging enough. We're going to try to talk to them about like, this side is lighter than this side over here. We'll talk about those kinds of stuff, and we'll try to get some shadows and some values in there, but we're not necessarily getting a full value scale. We call it like a 1 through 5 value scale. If we can get 5 values, that's pretty good. Most people can get 3. When we get to the advanced realistic, we're really looking for 5. It's already assumed that they, although they may not nail the scale perfectly, they at least see it and can take feedback, and they understand what we're talking about when we're like, and same thing with perspective. So, and proportions and all of that stuff, we're already expecting all of that to some degree in the 102 advanced realistic. But what we're looking for is the values, and then the fine tuning of those other skills. And that's the lesson for this week. My 102 comic and anime are actually doing the exact same thing, because even though this is like drawing rectangular prisms is not really what we do in comic class, but you can still draw these in a comic style. And it allows us a chance to give them a lesson in a value scale with ink, because when I have a black marker, it only makes one shade of black. It's really dark, unless I've got gray, which I don't. Well, I do, but that's not what they're using. So they have to learn stippling, cross-hatching, scrumbling, some different inking techniques that give us a value. And I can show you that next week, because the kids will have it in their journal, and I'll show you what they learned. Okay. So that is what we're doing this week. And then it goes on from there. So all of our benchmark lessons, just know that we're getting a baseline established so that we know where they're at and can kind of scaffold up from there. My curriculum for the entire year is laid out, and my curriculum for the semester is written. So we're ready to go. The one thing we did add this week or this year is for your benefit, my parents, because, whoops, hang on. We know, because I'm a parent, and my kids get done with whatever activity, and I say, how was whatever? Fine. What'd you do? Art. How was basketball practice? Good. What'd you do? Dribble, shoot. Thanks. So when we get done with art class, we want to make sure that, this video here helps to tell you what we're working on, but also we want a little bit more immediate feedback. So this is their journals, obviously, and this is blank because we haven't done anything in it. They will open the page, they will work on one page, and then the back of that page, when they were done, they will put one of these. I just pulled one out of the book. So this is actually week 2, not week 1. And it'll tell you what the lesson is, what we were working on, and what our goals were. And so that gives you something to talk to them about. So it'll be right here on the back of this page. Some of our classes might use glue sticks. Some of them might use washi tape. to stick it on there. Who cares? But this will go in the back of the journals for you guys, because although they don't take these home, because nobody wants to remember to bring this back to class, we do allow them to take it out of the classroom to the lobby when you come to pick them up. And so you can open it up and they can show it to you and they can talk about class. And then there's just a drop box in both studios where you can put them in. And we will take them and put them back in the cubbies so that they're there for the next class. But hopefully something like this will help you to see what those drawing kids are learning and what they're doing. And also to help like ask them more specific questions to facilitate that conversation instead of just really general ones. It's hard to get specific when you don't have the information, right? So that's a new thing that we've added this year. There is something similar coming in multimedia classes that you'll see in week 4 when the artwork goes home. I'll just leave that hanging so you guys know that. Yeah. All right. I've got a couple housekeeping notes. We always end our videos with housekeeping. So let me go over just a few housekeeping notes. The first is communication. We've already talked about that. This video here is kind of my weekly touch point. I like to go live. I don't know. I like video as a communicator. It's easier than emails. If you ever need to reach me though, the best way to get a hold of me, the fastest way, and I tell everybody this, is a DM to Facebook or a DM to Instagram. If you DM me like, do we have class tonight? It comes right to my phone. This is always on me. And I will text you right back because it's actually easier. I have some parents that are like, I feel so bad. Like you should not be messaging me back at midnight. And I'm like, well, it's actually easier because it makes my next day easier if I've got a clear inbox. So don't be afraid to send me messages, especially those quick, easy questions. I love it because I can just take care of it. If you write too long, this is just anybody who has Facebook pages knows this. If you write too long, Facebook truncates your message. So I can only see the first sentence-ish until I go to a desktop computer. I can't even like bring it up on my like mobile site. I have to go to a desktop computer to look at it. So if you're going to use the I am technique, short or multiple shorts. All right. It eventually comes through, but it takes like 2-3 hours, the longer ones. I don't know why. Yeah. Then the other thing, if you want to get a hold of me, you can always send me an email. I check email every day and I clear my inbox every day. It's already done for the day. So if you email me now, you're not going to hear from me until sometime tomorrow. I already did it. I only touch it once, unless I'm waiting for something and we're in a communication, then I will go back and check it. But like just know 24 hours ish on emails. Okay. And then phone, I want to talk about phones because I know that this can get frustrating for some people because they call and they want to talk to somebody. Right now, the phones are on silent because I'm doing a video. This morning, the phones will be on silent every Monday morning because I'm teaching classes. On Wednesdays, the phones are on silent because we're teaching online classes. Like oftentimes there is not somebody here to just answer the phones. In a little bit, like I will leave and go home and get ready to go see my son play football. And the teachers teaching classes may not be able to answer the phones. It's not our priority to answer phones. If you need something, please leave us a message. Don't just call and get annoyed that we're not answering. Leave a message because we do check the messages. We just always can't stop what we're doing and answer. But we'll check the message and then we'll get back to you pretty quickly. So that's the note on the phones. If you want to have a phone conversation with me about anything, send me a message and say, hey, can we chat on the phone? And I will make a point. Like, I mean, I live just down the street from the studio. I will drive here and make a phone call. If it's super urgent, I will call you from my cell phone. Okay. Communication is my number one job. I had to think about that, but it really is. It is my number one job. I communicate with you guys. I communicate with the team that teaches. Like, it is my number one job. And so I take it very seriously. And if you need me, just reach out and tell me what you need. Okay. The next thing is makeups. So we do have makeup opportunities. If you miss a class, we want you to come in for a makeup. We want you to get your studio time in. We don't want you to be rushed finishing a project. We also don't want you to finish the month and be like, well, I never finished that one and we're already moving on to the next one because we don't wait. So if you missed a class in September and you ran behind, the first week of October, we're moving on to clay. Like, we're not getting the chalk pastels back out again. You need to come in for a makeup. That's too hard on the instructor in the class. They're going to move on. So the makeups exist for a reason, and we would love to have you come in. They are on Wednesday nights by reservation. We have a team of teachers here that rotates through to help them get through their projects. That also works if you have a student who just works a little bit slower. I have one of those. My daughter would come in. She probably will. She probably will be here every Wednesday night because she's just a very detailed person. Oh, I should mention. So in order to find makeups, you're going to go to the website. You scroll all the way to the bottom. There's a footer, and it says for current students, click here, and you click it, and it takes you to this section on makeups. Okay. Also in that section is where you can find your class schedule. So if you ever wonder if your class is meeting, this is really more for my fundamentals people because you guys only meet 3 times a month, so it gets a little confusing. You can find your class schedule on there. I will say there is 2 instances where like it'll say you don't have class, but you do. So my Monday people in December, the very, very, very last class of your semester is the Wednesday night of the week between Christmas and New Year's. Okay. And because nobody wants to come in on the 26th, so we just took it and moved it to Wednesday. But it's not even on the schedule. We'll talk about it when we get to December. And it's a super fun night. It's like art and PJs and hot chocolate. So we're just finishing up art and drinking hot chocolate and hanging out in our pajamas. But we'll talk about it, okay? I think there's a couple times the Thursday classes tend to be affected because of Thanksgiving. So Thursday classes meet on Wednesdays. Thanksgiving week, which is Bring a Friend week. Also something we'll communicate as we get closer to time. If you ever want to know those things and you're brand new to the studio, go to the website and look at special events. It's under the More tab right on the top header. Read the special events. There's kind of a noteworthy date section at the top. And then if you scroll down, there's a whole bunch of information down there all about our special events. It tells you what Bring a Friend night is. It tells you what Art and PJ night is. It tells you what is the biggest thing coming up so far. The Studio Fall Party is coming up in October for our enrolled artists, all that stuff. So that those dates and things are already listed. The Halloween classes are already listed. I mean, heck, the winter break camps are already up. You guys, you can go see what we're doing for winter break. It also has the dates that those registrations begin, which is another good thing to watch these videos because in the housekeeping notes, I will talk through the upcoming registrations that are coming. So you don't miss winter break camp registration and stuff like that. Okay. All right. I think that's it for me. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your Monday. I am super excited to see a lot of you today in the studios and then the rest of you starting next week on Tuesday.